So right now we are inside this onCreate method, and I'm just gonna go down a bit, and as we go just after this initialize game function call, I'm just gonna go right now and leave a comment so that I'm setting up the text change listener for the edit text that we have, or input field. And in order to set it up, I first of all have to say edt input, so that's my edit text, and then add text change listener, just this one that we see in the suggestions. And as you can see right here, we have to pass a text watcher, so I'm gonna say new text watcher. So we have this text watcher from Android.text, and if I select this one, you're gonna see that we have some code auto-completed from Android Studio, and we have 3 methods that we can implement. So I'm gonna just write some code inside this onText change listener because that's the one we need right now. So whenever the text is changed in that input field, that's when this function is going to be called. And if I just show you the emulator, basically this is how our application looks like. We have this word right here, which as you can see has the first and the last letter revealed, and then we have the input field. And for the input field, what we can do is we can let's say we enter Q. Now nothing happens right now, but the thing is the only change that we can have, so the input field changes whenever we input something or when we delete it. So when you delete it, that still counts as a text change. So that's where our function is going to be called. And we cannot enter more than 1 letter. So that's basically how it works. And I'm just gonna go right here, and first thing that I'm gonna do is to make sure that we only check check if the letter that is input by the user is inside our word, and we perform this check only when our input field is not null, so only when the input field has some letter inside it. So I'm just gonna leave a comment. So if there is some letter on the input field, okay, so that's why I'm using an if statement, and my condition is gonna be basically regarding the length of what is inside my input field, and the content of the input field is specified in this parameter, so it's a char sequence and it's called s, and so I'm gonna say s.length. So if the length of my input that I have right now is different than 0, so if I still have something inside that input field, and that means that I can only have 1 character, then I'm gonna perform a check. So I'm gonna call a function that I just wanna call it check if letter is in word. So I'm gonna say check if letter is in word. Okay, and I'm gonna pass this letter that I have right here. And since we only have 1 letter, so we know that there is only 1 letter, but this is basically a char sequence, so I cannot pass the char sequence because it gives us an error. So I have to say char sequence dot character at index 0. So basically, if I have a string or a char sequence that has 1 character, then the index of that character is going to be 0. So I'm just taking the character from index 0 from the char sequence, and I'm passing that character inside my check if letter is in word function. And so this function is gonna also do everything for us. So it's gonna see if the letter is correct, then it's gonna reveal that letter. If it is wrong, then it's gonna decrease the number of tries left. And also we have to make sure that we update the letters that the user tried.